Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the third solo film featuring Tom Holland as the character of Peter Parker / Spider-Man when a spell goes awry in which he wants a majority of the world to forget that he is, in fact, Spider-Man. There is a tear through the multiversal fabric, and we are reintroduced to some old Spider-Man enemies that we have seen in other films and other universes. I posted a little video on Twitter after I saw this the first time. I've now seen it twice, and that video was a bit snarky. I do have issues with this movie, but I want to say up front, guys, this movie is great. Like, this is going to be high up on my top 10 list at the end of the year. I think it's a wonderful event film. I think in so many ways it hits all the beats that it needs to hit, and I look forward to praising it. I do have some problems. I don't believe that this is in that, like, Avengers Endgame, Winter Soldier top tier of, like, the best of the MCU. But it's brilliant, man. There's stuff in this movie that I never, ever thought that I would see. And if you don't like this, like, I don't know. I feel like you're probably just a really unhappy person, to be completely honest with you. Like, it's just that much fun. What works here is what works in so many great Marvel movies, which is the characters are just rich. They're rich, and they're fun, and they're endearing, and they're charming, and they're likable. Tom Holland is, I mean, what a perfect choice as Spider-Man. Like, thank God they didn't cast Asa Butterfield or anybody else. Like, he is so wonderful in this role. I made a prediction when I reviewed The Devil All the Time where I said that I believe Tom Holland will be one of the 5 biggest movie stars of my lifetime, and I mean, that's holding true right now. I think he's just, this is his best performance to me as Spider-Man because he has to do so many different things, and there's a lot of dramatic moments, and he kills it, man. He kills it every time. He's so great. I don't know if I've ever praised a movie for this, but, like, this movie exists, and I feel like it deserves credit for that. Like, not only does it exist, but it exists, and it works. This could have gone so awry so quickly, and it could have been so messed up and so insane, but Marvel always does such a good job of keeping the train on the track, and it never feels like it goes too far in one direction. And this is like one of those movies. I criticize movie theaters all the time, but, like, you have to see this in theaters. It's literally an event. It's like going to a sporting event. It really is, and it's fun, and it's enjoyable, and there's stuff that happens that I never thought I'd see. It's a wonderful movie. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but you know, when you review a movie, like, there's certain things you just can't avoid. But I'll say this. The movie, on a pass-fail system, is an overwhelming pass because those moments, the moments that have been speculated about, the moments that people have talked about, when they come, the movie is golden. I mean, it's essentially perfect. I mean, Chris was tearing up a lot in the last half of this movie. I think it's a really wonderful Peter Parker story. As grand as it is and as huge as it is, there is an intimate feeling to just how it captures what is important and what makes the character of Peter Parker special. I mean, I usually hate this phrase because I think it's overused, but it is like a beautiful love letter to this character. A lot of great things in this, but I do have legitimate complaints, and I'll jump right into them right now. The movie's too long, and I think the last half is so great, but it does kind of wear on you the deeper it goes. I think that they would have been better suited trimming some fat, probably in the first act a little bit. It takes a second to kind of, kick it into the next gear. I think they could have cut some of it out, and it would have been a much tighter narrative. I had this problem with No Way Home. What are these movies? I hate these stupid titles. Far From Home, where I just didn't think that the humor was that great. And here, for the first half, now again, when they get to the moments that matter, I was laughing very hard, and it works. But in the first half, there's a lot of moments where I'm like, yeah, this kind of falls short. It's not obnoxious. It doesn't make me want to punch myself in the balls the way that, like, the Venom movies did, where they just have a joke, and I just want to rip my ears out of my head.
Catch up!
Excuse me?
Yummy.
But there is a lot of kind of flat humor here, and I think some of that has to do with the direction. I think that this is the best looking of the 3 Tom Holland solo movies. With that said, I've now watched all 3 of these movies multiple times, and I just can't shake the feeling that they would work a lot better if they had somebody else directing. John Watts is not a bad director. In fact, I think what he's doing next is Fantastic Four, and I think he's going to do a really good job with that. I think that fits his sensibilities a little bit more, because I think he's good with smaller stuff, intimate stuff, the character stuff, but there's some epic moments in this movie, a lot of epic moments, and some of them feel rather flatly directed. And I kept thinking back to the portal scene in Avengers Endgame, which is so beautifully done, so masterfully shot with Alan Silvestri's score in the background. There's moments like this that should have had that kind of grandiose vibe, and it didn't. I think the direction at points, while the movie looks, it's fine, it's not poorly directed, has those moments where it's a little bit flat. Now, the biggest issue I have with this movie is the way it wraps up. Having seen it twice, I completely understand why people are loving it, and I appreciated what it was going for, because I think it was very on par with what the character of Peter Parker represents, which, well, I'm not going to spoil it. I can talk, hopefully, if I'm on Lights, Camera, Barstool tomorrow, I could talk about it in a little bit more detail with spoilers. But I got to the end and felt like logistically, there's a lot of problems that are being created within the MCU, because in my opinion, one of the great things about this universe have been the stakes. And the fact that when something happens, it happened. You saw it. It can't be undone. Now we're getting to a point where it can be. And that kind of scares me going forward in the future. I'll talk more about it if I'm on Lights, Camera, Barstool tomorrow. It did not ruin the movie, but it did leave me with a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, just because the last half of this movie is so good. And those last 10 minutes are just kind of, okay, yeah, they're fine. This is a weird one to grade, quite frankly, because I think my issues, whether or not you agree with them, are legitimate. Like, I think my criticisms should lower this thing down a few rating points, but like it's a movie. Like, it's such a big, like, honest, like, event style movie, and those movies don't get made that much anymore, and they don't get made well that much anymore. So I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10 because, quite frankly, I will probably watch this movie more than any other movie that came out this year outside of maybe West Side Story. I mean, like, when this thing is on Disney Plus, when it's on TV, I'll be watching it all the time over the next decade or so. And one day, if I'm lucky enough, and we got a ways to go here, like, given what it represents to this character, like, it's the kind of thing you show to your kids. Like, and it has some brutal moments in it, but, like, it's just so beautifully nostalgic, and the fan service is so well done that it's excellent. You should absolutely see it in theaters. So that'll do it for this review. You can follow me on Twitter at Castellani2014. While you're at it, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get those watch hours up. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Peace and happiness.